So today I want to talk about hope. It's been roughly 9 months since here at Carib 21, we pretty much change our model and we consider ourselves a Caribbean conversational channel. We're not a news channel. We don't bring news from the Caribbean. We talk about issues, we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we have conversation about the past and the future of the Caribbean. So it's pretty much more of a conversational channel. And for the past 9 months, we have had a lot of success and we now hit like our 10,000 mark. And, thank you for the support. 10,000 subscribers strong and we're growing. But one of the things that I realized in the past 9 months is how hopeless a lot of people feel in the Caribbean when we're having the conversation about whatever we're talking about in the Caribbean. We talk about, tourism, we talk about sports, we talk about culture, and the Caribbean, my God, the Caribbean, we're so gifted. When it comes on to sports, gifted. When it comes on to culture, music, food, you can't compete with the Caribbean. We are leading the world when it comes on to that aspect in terms of culture, in terms of our food, our music, our sports. People, we are leading the world. But when it comes on to politics, when it comes on to day-to-day living situation in the Caribbean, from my communication with people in the comment section and the people that reach out, there's a sense of hopelessness in the Caribbean. And even among some of the leaders that are like revered in the Caribbean. For example, let me give you an example. Like for anyone who been watching this channel for the past, as I said, 9 months, you know how I feel about the Prime Minister of Barbados, the Honorable Mia Mottley. To me, I see Mia Mottley as one of the strongest, if not the strongest political figure in my lifetime as a Caribbean person. But when I'm having a conversation, when we're doing videos, when we're covering things about Mia Mottley, like I am surprised, honestly, like I'm surprised for the amount of people like in Barbados that would say like, oh, like, yeah, like she's all over the world doing everything else, but she's not taking care of people in Barbados. And I get those comments all the time. And I'm not from Barbados. I don't understand the day-to-day runnings and the culture of Barbados. Barbados is beautiful. Like we visited Barbados a few months ago. Like I walked in the street of Barbados. I've never felt like the safety that I felt in Barbados is like even living in Toronto, like you feel like you could really sleep with your door open in Barbados. I felt as safe as anywhere else I've ever been in the world. And when you look at the landscape of Barbados, like to me, like as an outsider, and as I said, not just as an outsider looking in, like I've been there, I've been to the beaches, I've been to Christchurch, I've been to Oystins, like I love the atmosphere. I see, I came into the airport and the first impression, seeing the taxi drivers lined off at the airport and seeing like people making money out of tourism in Barbados. For me, as an outsider, I see Barbados as a model of the Caribbean that a lot of times I say, like, I wish Jamaica could be like Barbados. That's how I feel about Barbados. But there are people that push back and say, no, like, what you're seeing is not what's going on. Like, we're struggling, we're suffering, we're this, we're that. So, that's the point, a sense of hopelessness in the Caribbean. Then I move on to Guyana. When I look at Guyana and you see the reports coming out of Guyana, that Guyana is the fastest emerging economy in the world, when you see the numbers that are coming out of Guyana and you see the positive news that's coming out of Guyana, and I reported on a lot of those news coming out of Guyana, you see President Ali on the international stage, and I'm like, yes, like he's representing, and I'm going to say it, I know Guyana is not a Caribbean island, people come at me all the time, but Guyana is a part of CARICOM. Guyana is a part of the West Indies. So we just all figure call Guyana Caribbean, even though they're not a Caribbean island. But when you see President Ali, like, you feel proud as someone from CARICOM, as someone out of the Caribbean, that President Ali represent, us, like, in a remarkable way on the international platforms, wherever you see him. And again, like, you talk to people in Guyana, like, people, whenever I talk about President Ali, like, in the comment sections, it's full, and people are saying that this man is not who you think he is, like, he's corrupt, he's this and he's that. Sense of hopelessness in the Caribbean. We move on to Jamaica. Yes, when it comes on to Jamaica, I know Jamaica inside out because I'm Jamaican, born in Jamaica, been a part, growing up in Jamaica, and pretty much I love history. I study the history of Jamaica, so I know everything there is to know about Jamaica. And to me, Jamaica, I always consider Jamaica as one of the most confusing places on earth. Like, I am Jamaican and I'm confused. Jamaica is like 10 different countries in one. You go certain places in Jamaica. For example, you go to New Kingston in Jamaica and you're visiting Jamaica for the first time. You go to New Kingston. You are going to leave Jamaica thinking that, why is this country not a first world country? Because you're going to see like Porsche dealership. You're going to see Benz dealership. You're going to see BMW. You're going to see Tesla. You're going to see like high-rise buildings in New Kingston. You're going to experience some of the fanciest restaurants that you can ever come across. You're going to see Emancipation Park, the greenery. Like, if you go to some of the upper-class communities, the houses in those communities, like Beverly Hills, Jacksonville, like Hollywood, can't compare to some of those houses that you see in Jamaica. But then you go to a place like Riverton, you go to Waterhouse, you go to Cockburn Pen, and it's a different story. And some of the developments coming out of Jamaica in the past, I would say a few years, we see a lot of good stories coming out of Jamaica, and we see the Prime Minister of Jamaica, the most honorable Dr. Andrew Holness, and when he's on the international stage, as I said, like, represents well, because the Caribbean, our leaders are very educated, very intelligent, articulate themselves very well, and charismatic, I would say. So when you see them on the international level as Caribbean nationals, we feel proud. And we see the development going on in Jamaica. We see the highways, we see the new hotels going up. We see the report of over 3 million visitors coming to Jamaica every year. But then, when you have the conversation, the average Jamaican feel hopeless. So what is it going to take for us in the Caribbean to get to a level where we can feel hopeful in the future? Because one of the things that I've learned over the years is that, like, when you're hopeless, when you have no hope, like, it's like a crippling feeling. Like, if you're in a relationship and you're trying to fight for that relationship and you see that there's no hope, like it's not going forward, whether it's a business relationship, whether it's a personal relationship, once that sense of hopelessness creeps in, it is over. It is over. There's no way that relationship is going to work once you just feel hopeless, because hopelessness is a crippling feeling, and you cannot be hopeless and productive and successful at the same time. So what is it going to take for the Caribbean region? What is it going to take for us to be hopeful? And one of the things, like, my appeal to anyone that's watching this from the Caribbean is that if you're a young person that you feel hopeless, that you look at the politicians and you say, yes, all of them are thief, they're corrupt, they're just looking for themselves, and you hate politics because politicians are criminal. Be the change that you want to see. Like, I am the type of person, I did not like politics a bit. But then as I got older, I realized that if you're not at the table, you can't complain about what is being served. If you're not in the kitchen, you can't complain about what's being cooked. So if you want to see changes, be a part of it. Like, so you believe that the politicians are corrupt in the Caribbean, and you don't like politicians. You feel a sense of hopelessness because the politicians are corrupt and they're leading the country in the wrong direction. As a young person, get involved in politics. It took me a while for me to say, you know what, politics is not that bad. Like, yes, politicians are corrupt, and sometimes there are things that happen in the inside that if you're on the outside, you won't know that's happening. So that is my appeal. If you're anywhere in the Caribbean, you're a young person, you're coming out of university with your degree, and you have this mindset that politicians are corrupt and there's no hope, like, make a change. Like, you be the hope that you want to see. Get involved in politics and go and be that politician that is not corrupt. Because I believe that as a Caribbean national, with what is happening in the world right now, like, we see a wave of conservatism going on in the world, and a lot of it is not good. You look and you see Sweden. I have friends that, not friends, but associate that live in Sweden, and having a conversation with them like 5 years ago, Sweden is the most amazing place. Fast forward, 2025, not looking so good. The United Kingdom, a lot of Jamaicans went there, a lot of returning residents to Jamaica, to Guyana, to Barbados, to St. Vincent, a lot of returning residents from England that went there during the Windrush movement, and people that were born out of that movement came back to the Caribbean with lots of money and build a nice life for themselves. That is no longer an option. Like, we are being kicked out of Europe. We are being kicked out of North America. So there's going to be a point where I think the Prime Minister of Jamaica mentioned it earlier at the CARICOM heads of government that there's a time coming that we're not going to have anywhere to run, and we're going to have to stay in the Caribbean and make it work. So my appeal is that, like, if you're a young person watching this video, get involved in politics, be the change that you want to see. Like, one of the things that I'm excited about, because I'm hopeful about what's happening in the Caribbean, one of the things that I'm excited about is Dickon Mitchell, the Prime Minister of Grenada. Yes, so Dickon Mitchell, I think he's the youngest leader in the Caribbean right now. And when you see him in a room with like a Mayor Motley, you see him with a Ralph Gonzalez, you see him with a President Ali, you see him with any of the leaders in the Caribbean, he's looks like a child in the room. It looks like he doesn't even belong there because he looks so young. And it is good to see that a young man like Dickon Mitchell that took on politics, and from what I'm seeing, like, he is pretty much making a difference, because in Grenada, like, you're hearing more about Grenada now. And as I said in a previous video, that one of the best deal that I've seen signed in the Caribbean in a long time is what is happening with Grenada and the deal that they made with Nigeria, to see that African-Caribbean connection, and he's at the forefront of that. And there are a lot of bright, emerging political stars in the Caribbean. I call them rising stars in politics. Damian Crawford of Jamaica. Damian Crawford is a young politician. He sports a locks, like, different from 30, 40 years ago. Like, if you had a locks on your head, you could not get into even a bank, much less to become a politician 30, 40 years ago. But when you look at someone like Damian Crawford, he's very, like, charismatic. Like, young people look at him and see themselves. And one of the things I look at Damian Crawford, and as a Jamaican, I believe that if someone like Damian Crawford does not get the opportunity to be the leader of even the People's National Party and have a chance to be Prime Minister of Jamaica one day, it is a travesty, because we saw the passing of the baton in Jamaica between Bruce Golding at the time and a young Andrew Holness. Andrew Holness was probably about 35 at the time. And we saw what happened with that party. We saw what happened politically. And whether or not you agree with Andrew Holness, the Prime Minister of Jamaica, whether or not you agree with the choices that he has made for the country, or whether you agree that the country is not better with him being a leader, what you can say is that he's not a charismatic leader. He doesn't know how to get vote. He doesn't know how to carry himself. He is one of the most charismatic leader that I've seen in a while. Like, he knows how to speak, he knows how to carry himself. And I believe that if we get more young people going into politics, like 20s, 30s, going into politics, then we can change the political future of the Caribbean. So that is my appeal. I know, like, you might feel hopeless and you might be saying, yes, like, we don't have good roads, the education is slipping in the Caribbean, the crime is going up in the Caribbean, all of this stuff. But be the change that you want to see. And if you don't see hope, like, you're a young person, you're in university, getting your master's, don't shy away from politics. Get involved and change the Caribbean. So that is my message for today. So guys, if you agree with me, do you think that young people, we need to see the changing of the guards now? We need to see young people emerging into leadership in the Caribbean. And probably because one of the things that is said, like, if you keep doing the same thing and expect different result, that's a sign of insanity. And we have seen over the years since the Caribbean, we have been independent, that, like, the leaders, like, it's almost a retirement job when it comes down to politics in the Caribbean. The ones that lead us are 60s and over for a long time. So if you agree that we need young minds, young bright minds leading us in the Caribbean, sound off in the comment section and let me know your thoughts. So this was, I'm just venting, I'm just venting because it's just sad that there's so many people in the Caribbean that just feel a sense of hopelessness. But as I say, be the change that you want to see. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content. And remember, peace. I'm out.